Chapter 770, The Best Move. Chapter 770, The Best Move. Jian Wushuang barely managed to withstand Yun Fan's sound wave attack using his own body. But at the same time, Yun Fan swung his long staff and hurled it at Jian Wushuang. Secret skill, Heaven Anthem. Buzz tilde a miserable voice started echoing throughout the place all of a sudden. It sounded like music of lament. While the music sounded, a towering stone staff furiously streaked across the sky along a straight route. Jian Wushuang used his whole body and mind to block off the sound wave attack. He had just regained his composure when he was just about to get struck by the staff. He had no time to defend himself with his sword, let alone time to dodge. Secret skill, mind-controlling secret skill. A strange power surged suddenly and covered Yun Fan. This strange power was felt like a sharp stinger stabbing him inside his head. What? Yun Fan felt a sharp pain. Although he could hold it in, it had slowed his movements. Jian Wushuang took advantage of the situation and went to the other side. At the same time, he struck out his emperor sword mercilessly. "Get lost," he shouted. "Funny." Yun Fan sneered. He moved his wrist and held up his staff swiftly to meet Jian Wushuang's sword. Yun Fan had just managed to block the attack before Jian Wushuang started to unleash his swordsmanship. Boom. Boom. The two were soon in an intense battle. At first, they fought on the ground, leaving the land and the forest in ruins. Later, they moved their battlefield to the void, causing the sky to tremble and shake. A limitless amount of energy was thrown about in the sky, forming a wild wind. Following which, they came back to the ground again. It was a fierce battle. It was a battle like none before. The onlookers had retreated to another place to stay away from the two fighters since long ago. Many of the experts in the crowd, including the disciples who were only at the Divine Realm expert level, all had a dull look as they watched the fight. It was so amazing. It was definitely the most intense, crazy, and fierce fight they had ever seen. The two showcased an array of tricks. After such a long fight, there was still no winner. Most importantly, one of them, Yu Fan, was an Eternal Realm expert ranked second in Firmament territory and had the fourth step of battle strength. And the other was just a Divine Realm expert. The astonishment was especially so among the disciples in the crowd. Is Jian Wushuang really just a Divine Realm expert? I never thought that a Divine Realm expert can be so powerful. I heard that even the most powerful Divine Realm expert could only be a match only for the weakest Eternal Realm expert, but now, it seems. With his current power, although he is just a Divine Realm expert, Jian Wushuang could kill an ordinary Eternal Realm expert like he was killing a goose. They were all Divine Realm experts, but the power demonstrated by Jian Wushuang was beyond those disciples' imaginations. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would never believe it. On the battlefield, the two finally widened the gap between them again. Yun Fan was standing still in the void. His gaze showed that he no longer took his opponent lightly. Instead, there was a serious look that was not there before. This boy. I've tried my best, but I still cannot gain a bit of upper hand. How could he be as powerful as me when he is just a Divine Realm expert? Yun Fan was astonished. If someone had told him before this that there was a Divine Realm expert who as powerful as him, he would laugh and even disdain the person. However, now he knew that it was indeed possible. Jian Wushuang's ability was nowhere weaker than his. Not only is he not weaker than me, but he also has plenty of spiritual power. Yun Fan narrowed his eyes. His battle with Jian Wushuang was so crazy, he used every single trick that he knew. That would definitely be a toll on spiritual power. For an expert of Eternal Realm like him, his spiritual power was already depleted by more than 30%. Jian Wushuang was just a Divine Realm expert. He should have exhausted all his spiritual power after such an intense fight. But in reality, he was still at the peak of his condition. Although I do not know why he has so much spiritual power, it is very obvious that I cannot win him by suppressing him with mine. Since that's the case, I can only do this. Yun Fan's face darkened and he lifted up his head. Jian Wushuang, you are really something else. You're just a Divine Realm expert, but you're the most powerful one I've ever heard. Prepare to take my best move then. As he spoke, A fiery red energy kept surged out of Yun Fan's body. Your best move. Jian Wushuang looked indifferent and had a faint shine in his eyes. I am looking forward. The best move. Upon hearing Yun Fan's words, the onlookers all turned towards Yun Fan. They were looking forward to it as well. I've never displayed this move in front of others ever since I became the great elder of our sect. Boy, you should feel proud for making me do this. Also, don't worry. In the end, I will control my power and not kill you. Yun Fan's voice echoed again, full of confidence. He raised his staff high up above him. A large amount of fiery red energy surged wildly while it covered the whole void, as if it was a fire in the sky spreading gradually. Jian Wushuang felt scorching hot, as if he was in a sea of fire. Yun Fan was standing in the center of the fire, as if he was the king of fire. With a wave of his hand, the fire disappeared, leaving behind a red staff shadow that was protruding out. Four-beast secret skill, Burning Dragon. Yun Fan snarled. Roar. A loud roar echoed throughout the place. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes only to see a burning dragon coming straight at him. A giant burning dragon appeared where the staff shadow pointed to. The dragon was about 10,000 feet long and was covered in fire. It seemed to be able to destroy everything. It growled lowly as it neared Jian Wushuang in raging fires. The onlookers could not help but to tremble with fear at the scene. This move is so formidable. A few Eternal Realm experts started murmuring. Many experts present shared his feeling. Chapter 771 Yun Fan Lost. Chapter 771 Yun Fan Lost. This is your strongest move. While the other spectators were shocked by the strike, Jian Wushuang still wore a frosty expression. The power is indeed not bad, but it's a pity that it will not be enough. A cold voice came out of Jian Wushuang's mouth. It sounded unquestionable and echoed in heaven and earth. After he finished speaking, he immediately raised up his emperor sword. His spiritual power was at full blast and Jian Wushuang activated 10% of it. The second move of Boundless Heaven Sword Art, Demon Slaying Sword Move. Dark golden light was glistening in his eyes. As a gold-armored ancient god, he had activated all of his ancient god strength. Boundless Heaven Sword Art was comprised of 7 moves and each move was stronger than the previous one. The first move, Annihilation Sword Move, was very powerful, but it was far inferior to the second move. The first and second moves were 2 whole different levels. Before entering the Eternal Zone, Jian Wushuang could barely display the first move, Annihilation Sword Move. But he had stayed in the Eternal Zone for a whole 100 years. 100 years was immensely long to him. His swordsmanship was already not like before. He had mastered the second move of Boundless Heaven Sword Art long ago. A mighty huge crescent-shaped sword shadow lashed out and quickly collided into the burning dragon. Kai, Kai, Kai. The overwhelming power collision caused continuous loud sounds. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. He stared at Yun Fan and spoke in a flat toneless voice. Great Elder of Cloud Sea Asgard is just SOSO. Jian Wushuang's voice may be calm, but all the more it attracted people's attention in such a fierce battle. All the onlookers, including Yun Fan, all heard his words. Everyone was stunned. Great Elder of Cloud Sea Asgard is just SOSO? How arrogant. However, what happened next made them all shut up. The crescent-shaped sword shadow actually became even more terrifying. The burning dragon started to fall. The sword shadow breezed by and split the 10,000 feet long burning dragon into 2 from its middle. It did not lower its speed. Instead, it landed violently on Yun Fan. Fart. Yun Fan spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, which spattered on the ground. All the spectators were dumbfounded by the scene. Lost. Yun Fan actually lost the fight. He was defeated by Jian Wushuang, a Divine Realm expert. Am I dreaming? All of them could not believe what they saw. After all, Yun Fan was ranked second among the Eternal Realm experts in the Firmament territory. It was known that Xian Yi was the only one that was able to defeat him. But now, another one could do the same, and he was only a Divine Realm expert. He won. The 9 palace masters from the ancient sect were over the moon. They had never thought that Jian Wuxiang could defeat Yun Fan. Even him earning the chance to fight with Yun Fan was shocking enough. But now, Jian Wuxiang actually won the fight? There was once a most heaven-defying divine realm expert in the firmament territory, but he was only capable of killing ordinary experts at step 1 of the eternal realm. Therefore, Jian Wuxiang set a record as he had defeated an expert at step 4 of the eternal realm. The strongest divine realm expert. He is definitely the strongest divine realm expert in our history, the other experts acclaimed in a low voice. The whole void was in chaos never seen before. On the battlefield, Yun Fan regained his balance and stood up. His lips and body were stained with blood and his aura became immensely weak. Obviously, he was seriously injured. He clenched his fists and glared at his opponent deadly. I lost. A divine realm expert defeated me? How is this possible? How did I lose? He snarled in his heart, his eyes full of grievances. But no matter how he felt, he had lost the fight. He could not find an excuse when there were so many people looking. At this moment, Jian Wuxiang landed his gaze on him. Yun Fan, Jian Wuxiang said plainly in a cold voice, now, do you still want me to visit your Cloud Seer's guard? Yun Fan's expression darkened and his face tingled with embarrassment under everyone's scornful gaze. He was simmering with rage. But he quickly tamed his anger and looked at Jian Wuxiang with a grim smile. Jian Wuxiang, you thought that once you defeated me, then we're done? Ridiculous. You've come back alive after staying in the Eternal Zone for 100 years. There's no doubt that you have a big secret. The Cloud Seer's guard is very desperate about finding out the secret, and that is a fact. But did you think that we're the only ones after it? There was a tiny change in Jian Wuxiang's expression. Saber Master, old weirdo dream, you guys have been hiding for so long. It's time to show up. Yun Fan suddenly growled. After which, 2 figures appeared from a near distance and started dashing over towards them. At the same time, their voices echoed throughout the entire area one after another. Haha, Yun Fan, I've known you for almost 10,000 years. It's my first time seeing you suffer terribly in a fight. Defeated by a Divine Realm Junior, you don't deserve your name as Great Elder. The 2 were obviously sneering at him. The 2 figures quickly came into sight. One of them had black short hair, bushy whiskers, and sword-shaped eyebrows. He carried a saber on his back. Standing there with a frosty look, he was like a peerless fierce beast. The other was a skinny old lady, whose eyes were extremely cold. Upon seeing the 2, the other experts from all sects were greatly taken aback. Chapter 772, Join Hands. Chapter 772, Join Hands. These 2. Saber Master? One of the 2 masters from the Immortal Dynasty? Old weirdo dream from the Boundless Demon sect. Gosh, this old monster has disappeared for tens of thousands of years. She is still in the firmament territory? The other experts were familiar with the 2 newcomers. Both Saber Master and Old Weirdo Dream were very famous in the firmament territory. Saber Master was also called Slaughter Master, and he was second to their sect master. Although he was unable to transform into a demon god, he had reached the peak of level 3 of Saberheart in the Saber Principle. Aided by various skills, his battle strength was at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. Old Weirdo Dream was a complete monster. No one knew how many years she had lived. With an incalculable number of skills, she was more terrifying than Saber Master. You actually lost to a little Divine Realm expert. Yun Fan, your reputation is destroyed by the boy. Saber Master sneered. If you're powerful, then go fight him. I really want to know how you will defeat him, Yun Fan growled with a pale look. Saber Master raised his eyebrows and could not help but spare the boy a glance with a flicker of gravity. Jian Wuxiang possessed a big secret which was appealing to the 3 magnates. The 2 famous experts had received the news from their people, so they had immediately set off and arrived early to watch the fierce fight. Both of them watched most of their fight and learnt about Jian Wuxiang's strength. Saber Master only verbally mocked Yun Fan, as he knew he would probably lose the fight with Jian Wuxiang. Okay, stop all these nonsense. This boy is extremely powerful. If we go for 1-to-1, none of us can match him, so let's join hands to fight him, Old Weirdo Dream suggested. Join hands? Saber Master's expression changed. He said, that's not a problem, but what shall we do if we catch him? Old Weirdo Dream replied, let's talk about it after we get him. As for his secret, we'll work out a compromise. If not, we can share it. Yun Fan nodded. Agree. Okay. Saber Master also agreed with it. After a while, the supreme experts at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm had reached an agreement. They had not lowered their voice, so everyone was able to hear their plan. Join hands. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream all join hands to deal with a Divine Realm expert. Humph, Jian Wushuang already defeated Yun Fan, who is a bit stronger than the other two experts, so how will they get the better of him if they don't work together? The experts started murmuring among themselves. The 9 palace masters in the ancient sect camp heard their conversation and were incandescent with rage. Bastard, the 3 monsters are already of such age. They're actually joining hands to attack a Divine Realm Junior. How shameful. Vice Palace Master Ling Yu shouted. The other palace masters were furious too, and were about to help Jian Wushuang. However, Palace Master Destruction blocked them. He said in a low voice, I've sent a message to Palace Master Xian Yi. He ordered us not to meddle in this. What? The other palace masters were shocked. Not meddle in this? Shall we just watch the 3 old monsters bully Jian Wushuang? Palace Master Mo Dao shouted. Palace Master Destruction replied, I'm not certain, but you all know Xian Yi's patience. Since he ordered so, he must have his own plan. We can only obey it. Upon hearing this, the other palace master had to restrain themselves from helping this boy, despite them being furious. On the battleground, Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream had already come to a consensus. They stood side by side in front of Jian Wushuang while locking their gaze on him. Join hands. Seeing what was happening, Jian Wushuang still wore a cold expression. He knew deep down that once he started to attack, he would not be dealing with just the Cloud Seer's guard, there would be the other opponents waiting for him. Hence, he was not surprised. So what? Jian Wushuang shot out a cold gaze. His sword essence did not become weaker. Instead, it became even more terrifying, as if it was going to ruin everything. Nothing could stop him. Fight. With a stern growl, Jian Wushuang's big figure charged forward again. He knows that he's fighting against 3, but he's still not backing out. Instead, he is taking the initiative to start attacking. He's so bold. Saber Master saw the boy rushing towards him. A hint of excitement shone across his eyes. Let me see how powerful you are. As he spoke, he took a step forward. It was just one step, but he instantly glided across a distance of 1,000 feet and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. After which, he raised his saber. Saber Master was famous for his saber technique. He was obsessed with his saber and also had ultimate confidence. As he brandished his weapon, a saber shadow which was huge enough to cover half of the sky suddenly appeared. It slashed at the boy without mercy, like a hurricane. The terrifying power shook the heaven and earth. There was a faint dark golden light glistening in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Just when Saber Master swung his saber, Jian Wushuang also swung his Emperor sword without holding back. It was a clean sweep. This strike looked like it could sweep across the whole sky. It instantly collided into the huge saber shadow. Shua! The terrifying power from the collision cut the air open and seemed to cause cracks in the void. However, this collision only lasted for a while before the saber shadow was shattered into pieces. Jian Wushuang's sword shadow, however, violently flashed across the sky and hit on a mountain at the back. Swish! It ruthlessly cleft the mountain and cut it into 2 parts. This boy's strength is brilliant. Saber Master marveled at it. He is a gold-armored demon god. It's no surprise that he has a superb strength. Old Weirdo Dream glanced at Saber Master and then darted forward. Watch my move. Chapter 773, 1 vs 3. Chapter 773, 1 vs 3. The moment the skinny Old Weirdo Dream dived forward, a sharp aquamarine longsword appeared in her hands. She burst into shrill laughter. A bizarre light flashed across her eyes, and in the next moment, dozens of figures appeared. What is this? Illusionary body? What an odd secret skill. The spectators could not hold back their shock. One person had just turned into dozens of old weirdo dream in an instant. They had the same aura. All of them were holding onto an aquamarine longsword and headed towards Jian Wushuang. It was hard to distinguish her original body from them. Jian Wushuang was a bit surprised. This led him to think of the secret skill that Wu Dao had displayed. At that time, in order to escape, Wu Dao changed into 18 figures and ran in different directions. However, Wu Dao's secret skill was meant to create doppelgangers that could confuse opponents while escaping. The secret skill that old weirdo dream displayed, however, to create illusions to confuse her opponents for attack purposes. Dozens of identical figures appeared out of nowhere and came towards Jian Wushuang. Ancient god secret skill, Scarlet Eye. Jian Wushuang growled. Then the scarlet mark between his eyebrows opened slightly. An eerie-looking, vertical blood-red pupil opened suddenly. It radiated a brilliant bloodlight and scanned through the figures. The original body is there. Jian Wushuang instantly fixed his eyes on one of the old weirdo dreams and hacked at her with his long sword. Get lost. His long sword contained terrifying power and it struck the original body of old weirdo dream. What? Old weirdo dream was taken aback, as she did not expect that Jian Wushuang would be able to distinguish her original body so quickly. She immediately swung her aquamarine long sword to resist his attack. An enormous crash was heard. Old weirdo dream let out a muffled groan and her body moved backward immediately. This boy actually saw my original body. Old weirdo dream could not hide the astonishment in her heart as she was retreating. Yun Fan spoke, "This boy is too powerful. We can't tackle him one-to-one. Let's fight together." Saber Master and old weirdo dream nodded in agreement. The next moment, the three experts struck at the same time. By just focusing on the size of their bodies, Yun Fan already looked small when compared to the 15-meter Jian Wushuang, let alone Saber Master and old weirdo dream. The trio struck out together. Faced with the three experts, Jian Wushuang unleashed all of his swordsmanship and offensive ability. Jian Wushuang had done earnest cultivation in the underground palace of the 8th tribe for several years. Among the three tests there, the human level and heaven level tests were designed to test practitioners' ability to deal with the siege and melee. Therefore, he was well trained in handling situations where he was surrounded. This was beyond the expert's expectation. Even if Jian Wushuang were to battle three opponents whose powers match his, he would be able to grapple with them for quite some time by using just his own skills. Hence, it was easier to deal with these three who were weaker than him. Yun Fan used to be on a par with him, but was badly injured by Jian Wushuang, so his strength weakened greatly. 1 versus 3. Jian Wushuang still gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang is too strong. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and old weirdo dream are working together, but yet they still can't beat him. What a terrifying offensive ability. His swordsmanship is also amazing. The spectators marveled at it inwardly. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and old weirdo dream were taken aback. His offensive skills are superb. He is so young and his offensive ability is already so strong. His strength is only a bit greater than ours, but he's able to fight against us with just his offensive ability and swordsmanship. What a real monster. Yun Fan growled, "Saber Master, old weirdo dream, stop wasting time on him. Let's use our trump cards. If we continue like this, Xianyi might come here personally. When that happens, we won't have any chance to catch this boy." Okay. Saber Master and old weirdo dream nodded, as they were all fearful of Xianyi. "Remember, don't kill him." Yun Fan reminded. "You don't have to remind us that." Saber Master threw a contemptuous glance at Yun Fan. Then, all three of them started to display their strongest moves. Saber Master was up first. He dashed out with a ferocious look. The veins on his face and arms stood out. He held onto sabers in both hands and took giant steps forward. A terrifying aura started to gather in his hands. Secret skill, Dragon Slayer. Saber Master shouted. The saber lashed out immediately. The sky darkened instantly and everything fell dead silent. The surrounding turned dark, and in this endless darkness, only the saber master's strike remained. Hum! Jian Wushuang raised his head with a hint of gravity in his eyes. He could sense that this strike was more powerful than the strongest move that Yun Fan had performed. Obviously, in terms of offensive power, Saber Master ranked first among the three experts. However, he was far behind Yun Fan in other aspects. Faced with the incoming blade light, Jian Wushuang was about to deflect it. But right at this moment, old Weirdo Dream looked over at him with a bizarre light in her eyes. Secret skill, eternal dream, buzz. An immaterial power suddenly swept toward the boy. Jian Wushuang stood there, but he saw everything disappear in front of him. Yun Fan, Saber Master, old Weirdo Dream, and the spectators had all disappeared. They left him alone in the vast and dark void. A voice echoed in Jian Wushuang's mind. It was magical and enticed him to fall asleep. Illusion? Jian Wushuang's expression darkened and immediately realized it was an illusion. Instantly, the scarlet mark between his eyebrows opened once again and the vertical pupil radiated a ray of blood light. The Scarlet Eye secret skill helped to see through the reality and illusion. If one were to cultivate this skill until its peak, any illusion would be useless to him. Although he had just mastered the Scarlet Eye secret skill, Jian Wushuang was able to penetrate the illusion skill old Weirdo Dream had displayed. Chapter 774, Shameless. Chapter 774, Shameless. Buzz. The invisible power dissipated as the vast black sky immediately vanished. Jian Wushuang looked up but saw the blade light unleashed by Saber Master. Old Weirdo Dream was behind Saber Master and her face darkened as she stared at the boy in shock. He has actually broken my strongest move, Eternal Dream. How is this possible? Although it sounded impossible, Jian Wushuang made it happen. Nevertheless, it took him a while to break the illusion, which gave Yun Fan an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Seeing Jian Wushuang break out from the illusion, Yun Fan immediately opened his mouth and snarled at Jian Wushuang. This snarl created multiple sound waves, which formed a sound wave attack that was headed straight for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had experienced the sound wave attack before, so he had already set shields inside his body in preparation for the attack. Surrounded by the sound waves, he only felt his blood racing through his veins, which caused no harm. But at this point in time, the blade light that Saber Master unleashed finally arrived. Yun Fan and old Weirdo Dream stared deadly at the streak of blade light. Be it old Weirdo Dream's illusion or Yun Fan's sound wave attack, they all created an opportunity for Saber Master's strongest blade light. Jian Wushuang had just disentangled himself from the illusion and sound wave attack, but the blade light was now right under his nose. It was so close that even Jian Wushuang was unable to deflect this in time. He could only protect himself by putting the Emperor sword in front of his chest. Boom! The huge blade light with terrifying power violently crashed into the Emperor sword. The immense force caused Jian Wushuang to fall back against the ground violently. This surge of power spread from Jian Wushuang's arm into his whole body. Humph! Jian Wushuang let out a muffled groan, and a trickle of blood oozed out of his mouth. However, his aura had not weakened. Jian Wushuang was standing quietly in his huge figure. He wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth before he looked at his opponents with a frosty look. Hehe, first it's the illusion attack. Then, it's the sound wave attack. Last but not least, we have an extreme offensive power attack. Hehe, the three of you cooperate well. Jian Wushuang's hearty laughter echoed the entire area. What? Yun Fan was astonished. He broke the illusion instantly, withstood the sound wave attack, and parry my attack in time? Saber Master was very astonished. All of us displayed our strongest move and worked really well together for the first time, but eventually we can't hurt him for real. Old Weirdo Dream was also petrified. They could not imagine that Jian Wushuang could manage to take in their attacks, and only suffered a minor injury. Those were their best moves. Old Weirdo Dream was the proudest of her eternal dream, as the illusion she made looked immensely real. If ordinary Eternal Realm experts fell into it, they would be unable to disentangle themselves from it within 10 breaths. This skill of hers caused others to be in awe of her. Yun Fan and Saber Master were both much stronger than her, but they were afraid of this skill of hers. She initially thought that Jian Wushuang would be stuck in the illusion for at least enough time for Yun Fan and Saber Master to give the boy a good thump, but who would have thought? Eventually, Jian Wushuang broke through the illusion in the blink of an eye. However, it was normal that Jian Wushuang was capable of warding off the sound wave attack. He had done this when Yun Fan displayed it for the first time, so it was easier for him to withstand it with some preparation. However, it was simply unbelievable that Jian Wushuang could still parry the blade light after the former 2 strikes. Saber Master frowned and asked in a low voice, "Our 3 strikes did not hurt him at all, what shall we do? This boy is just a divine realm expert, but his strength is far beyond our expectation. The 3 of us can only suppress him at most," Yun Fan said with a gloomy look. "So if we want to catch him, there is only one way." Yun Fan was deep in thoughts for a long time. He then turned towards the Cloud Sea Asgard camp suddenly and growled in a low voice, "Elders, let's join hands together to catch Jian Wushuang." Upon hearing this, Saber Master and Old Weirdo Dream were stunned. Then, both of them gritted their teeth and made up their mind. Saber Master said solemnly, "Everyone from the Immortal Dynasty, come help us to bring him down. Everyone from the Boundless Demon Sect, join us too." Old Weirdo Dream also shouted. The 3 magnates had sent numerous Eternal Realm experts here. Although many of them were killed in the Tianqi Mountains, there were still more than 20 experts left. Although their strength varied from Step 1 to Step 3, they were Eternal Realm experts after all. The other experts from the 3 magnates hesitated for a while, but they eventually started moving. More than 20 figures started darting towards Jian Wushuang at the same time. The experts from the other sects were shocked. What are they doing? Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream are known as the supreme experts in the firmament territory. Jian Wushuang is only a divine realm expert. Just any one of them fighting him is already considered bullying. It's even ridiculous that they're working together to fight the boy. But now they actually called all the Eternal Realm experts from their sects to help them? Don't the 3 magnates feel ashamed? They're going too far. Many experts from the other sects cursed the 3 magnates. Shameless, shameless. The 9 palace masters from the ancient sect started scolding them. Cloud Sea Asgard, Immortal Dynasty and Boundless Demon Sect, you 3 are the 3 magnates in the firmament territory. But now, the supreme experts ask all of your Eternal Realm experts to attack our ancient sect's disciple who is only a divine realm expert. Shame on all of you. You have brought shame to your sect's names. Haha, the 3 magnates turn out to be like this. I already knew that the 3 magnates are shameless, but I didn't know it is to this extent. The 9 palace masters raged about it, but as Palace Master Xian Yi had ordered, they did not intend to interfere in this matter, no matter how unfair it was. Chapter 775, The Third Move. Chapter 775, The Third Move. Upon hearing a torrent of scoldings, the experts from the 3 magnates looked embarrassed. This was especially so for the 3 who gave the orders. However, things have already turned out like that, they would not hesitate to carry out their plan. In order to get the big secret, they were able to set aside their reputations. Everything would give way to benefits. Their face or dignity was nothing when compared to the absolute benefits. Jian Wushuang was only handling the Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream. But now, all the experts from the 3 magnates were charging towards him. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang still wore an icy expression. Following which, he used his mind to cause a figure to appear by his side. It was his slaughter body. The moment he showed up, he grew at an amazing speed into a 15-meter-tall gold-armored ancient god. He held a sword in his hand and a terrifying killing intent spread out. Doppelganger? Doppelganger secret skill? Humph, that's not a big deal. Kill his doppelganger. One of them spoke out. They indeed just witnessed Jian Wushuang's strength, so they were clear that they were unable to kill Jian Wushuang. However, they were confident of defeating the doppelganger. While the doppelganger secret skill was an eye-opener, there were some flaws in it. Firstly, it was extremely difficult to cultivate. Only one or two from each magnet really cultivated it successfully. Secondly, it was known that the doppelganger's strength was far inferior to the original body. Sometimes, the difference could be huge. For example, an Eternal Realm expert had practiced the doppelganger secret skill and created a doppelganger, but this doppelganger's strength might not even compare to a superior Divine Realm expert. Therefore, they would think that doppelganger was not equipped with the original body's battle strength. The experts from the three magnates thought so. However, they were wrong. Very wrong. This figure was not Jian Wushuang's doppelganger, it was another of his original body. Owing to the heavenly creation skill, he had two original bodies who had their own consciousness and shared many trump cards that they could use. For example, the two original bodies were able to change into gold-armored ancient gods. The two original bodies were roughly equal in strength. If they were to be compared in detail, the slaughter body and the world body were only different in the possession of an eternal weapon like the Emperor Sword. But even so, the slaughter body's battle strength was still at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. Seeing the experts rushing towards the slaughter body, Jian Wushuang threw them a frosty glance. "You're courting death." He radiated overwhelming killing intents as he brandished his 10-meter-long sword. Sword light was shining brightly, and he slashed the sword at his opponents. The experts from the three magnates all made their different moves to resist his attack. However, boom! The sword light relentlessly flashed by and turned into a myriad of sword shadows which violently swept through them. "What? Damn it! Run!" Forlorn cries were heard. All of the Eternal Realm experts lost the ground and Jian Wushuang managed to kill 4 of them. Following which, the slaughter body dived forward to continue its task. Jian Wushuang was born militant, so he would not show any mercy to the experts from the three magnates. The slaughter body held onto the sword in one hand. He launched all his battle strength from the 4th step and aided by the mind-controlling secret skill, he slaughtered most of his opponents with ease. In just a moment, half of them were gone. Only several experts escaped narrowly. Calm was restored to the battlefield. How is this possible? The spectators watched this in shock. They had never expected that Jian Wushuang's doppelganger was as powerful as his original body. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream were struck dumb. His doppelganger is so terrifying. It shouldn't be like this. The three supreme experts with the 4th step's battle strength widened their eyes in disbelief. At this point, Jian Wushuang's world body, who was standing in front of them, looked at the three with a cold gaze. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream. Jian Wushuang began speaking with an easy heart. "Each of you is powerful and has high status in your sect. If all of you die here, it will be a great loss for your sects, right?" Upon hearing this, the three supreme experts felt a tremor in their hearts, but they immediately snickered. "Jian Wushuang, you're overconfident. Kill us." "Ridiculous." Yun Fan sneered. Saber Master also sighed. "I admit that you're strong, but killing us with a strength like yours is simply just a dream. What a conceited boy. I've lived for so many years, it's been a long time since I met someone like you, so full of yourself." Old Weirdo Dream said in a frosty voice. "You'll know soon, whether I am really just full of myself." Jian Wushuang did not explain further, truth could speak for itself. "3 of you, take my move. I've just mastered this move and haven't displayed it. Today, let me test its power on you." After his exclamation, the whole area fell silent. All of them fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang. Everyone wanted to know how powerful this move that he just mastered was and why it made him so confident. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream also stared at him deadly. At this point, Jian Wushuang raised his Emperor Sword slowly. At that instant when he lifted it up, he radiated an overwhelming and destructive sword essence. It gathered at the sword blade. Jian Wushuang paced his breathing. All the immense spiritual power and strength had completely gathered in his weapon. The initially overwhelming aura had calmed down. But it was the Emperor Sword in his hand that was unusual. Everyone present clearly sensed his sword contained a terrifying power that was gathering there. Boundless Heaven Sword Art, The third move. Jian Wushuang spoke slowly, as his gaze became colder. Chapter 776, The Red Shade Sword Move. Chapter 776, The Red Shade Sword Move. The Boundless Heaven Sword art was invented by Palace Master Xian Yi. Jian Wushuang did not know which level this secret skill belonged to. He only knew that it was powerful. The Boundless Heaven Sword art was comprised of 7 movements, and each move was stronger than the previous one. The first move was already terrifying, but the second move was several times more terrifying than it. The third move was naturally more terrifying than the second move. Jian Wushuang had lived in the Eternal Zone for 100 years. His sword principle had made a breakthrough, so did his Boundless Heaven Sword art. He had already mastered the third move. The third move consumed an enormous amount of spiritual power. Once Jian Wushuang displayed it, it would cost him 40% of his spiritual power. Unless necessary, he would not display it. But now, he could only turn to this move to defeat the 3 monsters. At this point, Jian Wushuang's 15-meter figure held onto its long sword. A destructive power was gathering in his hands. Sensing its terrifying power, Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream turned pale. They even felt they were facing a deadly crisis. At the same time, the power on the Emperor sword peaked. After a blinding light shone across his eyes, Jian Wushuang swung his sword. The third move of the Boundless Heaven Sword art. This movement was named the Red Shade Sword move. With one swing, the heaven and earth quietened down. Buzz! A vague sword shadow swept out, covering the whole sky like a wave. Upon seeing this, Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream felt their scalps tingle. Quick, let's work together to resist this attack. Yun Fan roared. Without hesitation, each of them took action at the same time. Yun Fan brandished his long staff violently to display his strongest move again. Then, a 10,000 feet long burning dragon lashed out. As he was seriously injured, the burning dragon looked obviously paler than the last time. Saber Master also unleashed the peerless blade light again. With a swing, the sky darkened completely. In this endless darkness, only the saber shadow unleashed by Saber Master was left. As for Old Weirdo Dream, she was not good at attacks. But at this moment, she also launched a brilliant sword shadow, whose power was nowhere near ordinary. The 3 strikes slashed against Jian Wushuang's huge sword shadow. However, Jian Wushuang's sword shadow was too powerful. Back then, Jian Wushuang had defeated Yun Fan by only using the second move of Boundless Heaven Sword art. The third move was multiple times stronger than the second move. Therefore, even though Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream joined hands, they were unable to withstand it. Peng! An earth-shaking loud boom was heard. It looked as if the void had exploded. Afterward, the strong waves spread outwards. And in the center of the battlefield, puff, 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 Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream each spat out a mouthful of blood. Their bodies were sent flying backward, like cannonballs. Owing to the diffuse wave power, the 3 experts suffered more injuries while retreating back. Yun Fan suffered the most. He had been badly injured when fighting Jian Wushuang alone. His injuries worsened just now because of the single strike, so he was unable to withstand the wave power. Several joints in Yun Fan's body cracked at the same time, leaving many holes on his body. One of his arms was even cut off mercilessly. Saber Master and Old Weirdo Dream were also seriously wounded in the attack, although slightly better than Yun Fan. Just when they were heavily injured, Jian Wushuang immediately turned into a shadow and charged forward. His gaze was icy cold and he stared at Yun Fan deadly. He wanted to kill them all, but he wanted to kill Yun Fan the most. Furthermore, whoever suffered the greatest injuries would be easiest to kill. Jian Wushuang's first target was naturally Yun Fan. Jian Wushuang appeared in front of Yun Fan before the latter regained his balance. Jian Wushuang displayed Twilight, the fastest move of secret skills that he created. This caused a brilliant sword light to light up suddenly. Die! Jian Wushuang's killing intent was soaring, and there was a flicker of ruthlessness in his eyes. The brilliant sword light shot towards Yun Fan's head. Yun Fan was too feeble to react in time, so he was only able to watch it approach closer and closer. No. Yun Fan widened his eyes and let out a forlorn howl. The spectators' eyes were glued onto the fight. They wondered if the great elder of Cloud Sea Asgard would really die just like that. When the sword light was half a meter away from Yun Fan, shua, a cool breeze blew over and it seemed to have magic powers, as it sent the sword light and Jian Wushuang flying. Jian Wushuang was forced to retreat nearly 100 meters before he regained his stance. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the void ahead of him hurriedly. The other experts also raised their head to look towards that direction. They saw a figure slowly approaching at the skyline. He had his hands behind his back. The man was dressed in a white holy robe and he had two sword-shaped eyebrows on his handsome yet fierce-looking face. He was composed as he walked over step by step. He was bathed in sunshine and looked as if he came from another world. Everyone present could not help but stare at him. He did not say a word. All he did was to walk towards them, but yet he still gained everyone's full attention. He finally stopped by Yun Fan's side. The whole area became deadly silent. The only thing that was not calm was probably the raging emotions that everyone was hiding. Yun Fan, who just had a narrow escape, also looked at him. With a great joy in his eyes, he immediately bowed to the man. "Pay my respects to Palace Master." Chapter 777, Cloud Sea Asgard, Tian Yunzi. Chapter 777, Cloud Sea Asgard, Tian Yunzi. Pay my respects to Palace Master. There was utmost respect in Yun Fan's voice, but there was more passion in it. His voice reverberated throughout the area. It caused a commotion in an instant. Palace Master? There was only one person in this world that could possibly be the Palace Master that Yun Fan the Great Elder was calling. It was the Palace Master of Cloud Sea Asgard, Tian Yunzi, who had reached the level of Tao Master. Palace Master of Cloud Sea Asgard. Gosh. A Tao Master came here personally. A Tao Master? Although I've reached the Eternal Realm, it's my first time meeting a legendary Tao Master. After knowing the identity of the newcomer, the gazes of the experts on the comer turned heated up. Tao Master. These two simple words represented the supreme dignity in the firmament territory. It was the supreme existence in the Eternal Realm. Eternal Realm experts were considered the real experts in the firmament territory. However, in the vast eternal world, unless they had reached the peak of Step 5 or Step 6, their strength was considered mediocre. As for Tao Masters, no matter where they were the real supreme experts. There were 4 realms in the eternal world: Skyscraping Realm, Divine Realm, Eternal Realm, and Tao Master. Among which, Tao Master was ranked first. Tao Masters were rare in this world and each of them had unbelievable skills. There were only 4 known Tao Masters in the firmament territory: Palace Master of Cloud Sea Asgard, Emperor of Immortal Dynasty, Sect Master of the Boundless Demon Sect, and Sect Master of the Ancient Sect. These were the 4 known Tao Masters. Of course, in the history of the Ancient Sect, there were another 3 Tao Masters, but they had left the firmament territory a long time ago and had not shown up for many years. And today, Tian Yunzi, one of the 4 Tao Masters, have come personally. It was no wonder that the other experts were so shocked. Palace Master of Cloud Sea Asgard. Even Jian Wushuang furrowed his eyebrows tightly. It was indeed amazing that he was able to defeat Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream. His strength was so strong, there was no one else in the Eternal Realm firmament territory that was worthy enough to be his opponent, other than his master Shen Yi. But no matter how powerful he was, it was impossible for him to fight with a Tao Master. There was a yawning gap between an Eternal Realm expert and a Tao Master. Tian Yunzi was standing with his hands behind his back and Yun Fan was standing behind him respectfully. Tian Yunzi wore an indifferent look while glancing at Jian Wushuang with his sharp gaze. "Boy, you're Shen Yi's personal disciple Jian Wushuang, right?" Tian Yunzi asked in a flat toneless voice. Jian Wushuang responded with a smile. "I didn't expect the Palace Master of Cloud Sea Asgard to know a nobody. It's my great honor." Faced with this supreme expert, Jian Wushuang still looked composed. At the same time, He even took some elixirs from his interspatial ring to help him recover his spiritual power. Although he could not predict what was going to happen, he knew that he had better keep his own strength. He, Shen Yi's personal disciple, the most heaven-defying divine realm expert in the firmament territory. You aren't a nobody. Tian Yunzi smiled while looking at the boy with a bizarre gaze. A divine realm expert defeated 3 experts at step 4 of the eternal realm and almost killed my great elder Yun Fan. You're amazing. As far as I know, your strength was only comparable to a superior divine realm expert 100 years ago, but now you have reached this level. Tut, I really wanted to know what happened to you in the eternal zone over the last 100 years. Jian Wushuang sneered. What? Does the great palace master of Cloud Sea Asgard want to attack me too? Attack you? No, I'd like to invite you to our Cloud Sea Asgard. I am personally inviting you, so you'll accept it, right? Tian Yunzi looked at Jian Wushuang as he asked. That depends on how strong you are. Jian Wushuang's eyes became colder. Oh! Tian Yunzi raised his eyebrows. Hearing this, the spectators were greatly taken aback. The palace master of Cloud Sea Asgard, a Dao master, is going to attack this divine realm boy too? Jian Wushuang is unwilling to soften his stance even in front of Tian Yunzi. He said that he wanted to see how strong he is. It looks like he wants to challenge this Dao master. Thinking of this, the other experts were stupefied. A divine realm expert is not yet satisfied with his performance of defeating so many eternal realm experts, and still tries to fight with a Dao master. Where does his courage come from? No matter what the other experts thought, Jian Wushuang had begun to move. He leaped up and appeared in front of Tian Yunzi. This 15-meter-tall boy looked down at Tian Yunzi, the small figure. He raised up his long sword with both his hands and endless sword essence gathered on his sword. The surge of power became increasingly mightier, which amazed the spectators. However, Tian Yunzi still kept his posture while watching this with interest. He did not stop Jian Wushuang from doing his moves. The moment the power on his sword peaked, Jian Wushuang swung it. Buzz! A vague sword shadow swept out, covering the whole sky like a ripple. It slashed towards Tian Yunzi. The third move of Boundless Heaven Sword Art, Red Shade Sword move. He really made a move. He really dared to do this. A divine realm expert was unwilling to surrender to a Dao master, and even launched an attack. No one will be able to match his courage. How daring he is. No, I think he's just too full of himself. It's crazy enough that he should challenge the eternal realm experts, but now the Dao master too. The spectators were shocked and in a chaos. They all stared at the fight with their eyes wide opened. At the same time, they also recognized the move that Jian Wushuang had displayed. Jian Wushuang had used it to defeat Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream. This attack still contained terrifying power that could make people tremble in fear. But now, it was being targeted at Tian Yunzi. Chapter 778, The Strongest Move. Chapter 778, The Strongest Move. Seeing this vague sword shadow rushing over, Tian Yunzi nodded inwardly. Its power has reached the peak of step 4. No wonder Yun Fan and the other 2 monsters could not withstand it. After murmuring that sentence, Tian Yunzi lifted his head suddenly. He opened his mouth slightly and uttered a word. Break. After which, a thunderbolt immediately appeared in front of Tian Yunzi. It entailed terrifying power and instantly lashed out. This thunderbolt may seem small, but it contained an incredible power. After colliding into the sword shadow leashed out by Jian Wushuang, it immediately broke the latter into pieces. The force generated rippled outwards and sent even Jian Wushuang flying. Yun Fan, Saber Master, Old Weirdo Dream were unable to resist this strike, but Tian Yunzi easily shattered it by saying a word. Tian Yunzi's power could not be questioned. The spectators were astounded by his strength and sighed inwardly. This is the real strength of a Dao master. Jian Wushuang, however, was not surprised at Tian Yunzi rebutting his swordsmanship and sending him flying away. Instead, a grin spread across his face. Seems that I'm right, you're just a doppelganger, Jian Wushuang said. Doppelganger? The spectators were shocked. The Tian Yunzi in front of them was a doppelganger. A doppelganger could smash Jian Wushuang's powerful strike so easily. You not only have great talent, you also have good eyes. The doppelganger replied with a faint smile. After all, Tian Yunzi was a Dao master. It was unnecessary for him to come down personally to deal with a divine realm expert. Hence, he sent his doppelganger here. Although the doppelganger's strength was far inferior to the original body, Tian Yunzi thought that it was strong enough to fight against Jian Wushuang. As I expected. Jian Wushuang grinned. When he saw Tian Yunzi, he immediately suspected that this was not his original body, no matter how unusual its aura was or how terrifying its strength was. That was the reason why he dared to challenge Tian Yunzi. If his opponent was Tian Yunzi's original body, Jian Wushuang would not be stupid enough to fight a Dao master. Faced with a doppelganger, he might have an opportunity to win by playing his trump cards. Tian Yunzi said with a faint smile, I am indeed the doppelganger. Although I only have less than 10% of the original body's strength, it should be enough to attack a small guy like you. Come and try. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and thought, what he said is true, his doppelganger has less than 10% of his strength. But he is still a Dao master after all. Even 10% of his strength is far superior to an expert at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. I'm just not sure if he is at step 5 or 6. No matter what realm he is at now, I can't defeat him by using just the third movement of the Boundless Heaven Sword art. There's only one move that can help me fight against him. Thinking of this, his eyes lit up. Then he moved again. Jian Wushuang's 15-meter figure was standing in the void with a 10-meter-long emperor sword in his hand. However, he waved his hand and withdrew his sword into its sheath. The spectators were startled by the scene. He withdrew his sword. Perhaps he knows he is unable to defeat him, so he's going to surrender to the doppelganger. After all, he is facing the palace master of Cloud Sea Asgard, Tian Yunzi. Even if it is just a doppelganger, it is still stronger than him. It's no surprise to surrender to him. But if he goes to fight, it only brings disgrace on his own head. The spectators sighed. In their eyes, Jian Wushuang was proficient in sword principle. Since he withdrew his long sword, he definitely would not attack again. However, Jian Wushuang's battle intent became increasingly stronger after he withdrew his sword. He stood there with a soaring killing intent. He clenched his right fist and punched himself heavily in the chest. Puff! He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood that had a flicker of dark gold in it. After which, he held the blood tightly in his hand and a strange energy surged suddenly. Jian Wushuang stared at the doppelganger deadly. Suddenly, he pointed to its direction with the bloody hand. 3 fingers of the ancient god. First finger, barrier breaking, boom. A giant spiral tunnel appeared in the vast void out of nowhere. It had a radius of 100 feet and a length of more than 1,000 feet. It appeared so suddenly as if someone poked a huge hole in the sky. There was terrifying power gathering in this tunnel. The next moment, a giant gold finger showed up. This gold finger was filled with overwhelming destructive power, as if it came from ancient times. The whole area fell dead silent. All the spectators stared at the gold finger in terror. They all got goosebumps and felt their scalps tingle, as if their heads were about to explode. This. Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream were aghast. Although the 3 experts at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm knew they were not its target, they still had an illusion that they would be shattered to pieces once they came into contact with the gold finger. This finger's terrifying strength was far beyond their expectation. Even Tian Yunzi's eyes bulged at the sight of it. What a powerful secret skill! He's only at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm, but the power of his secret skill is way greater than the experts at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. This boy has actually been hiding such a skill. Many people had the same question in their minds. Jian Wushuang had shown his non-comparable heaven-defying strength. He had caused Yun Fan, Saber Master, and Old Weirdo Dream to retreat through his incredible swordsmanship. His red shade sword move had amazed all the other Eternal Realm experts. But who would have thought that Jian Wushuang was still able to display even more powerful and terrifying skills? Chapter 779 Power to Break Barriers. Chapter 779 Power to Break Barriers. The giant gold finger was obviously much stronger than the red shadesword move. This was the first finger of 3 fingers of the ancient god. Aside from Jian Wushuang himself, no one knew that his current strongest move was not the secret skills that he created, nor was it the boundless heaven sword art. Instead, it was the ancient god clan's utmost unique skill that he attained from his inherited memory after becoming an ancient god. 3 fingers of the ancient god. The first finger had the power to break barriers. The second finger had the power to extinguish stars. The third finger had the power to shatter world. This was the strongest skill from the inherited memory of the ancient god clan. Jian Wushuang had stayed in the ancient god clan for such a long period of time, but he had never heard that other clansmen had received inherited memory after changing into an ancient god. Owing to his imperial bloodline, Jian Wushuang himself had awakened a part of inherited memory and obtained the 3 fingers of the ancient god. Only ancient gods were qualified to display this skill, which was extremely hard to do. Jian Wushuang had spent lots of time and energy studying this skill before he mastered the first finger. However, as a 1-star ancient god, he could barely perform it. Furthermore, this skill would exhaust a considerable amount of spiritual power and bloodline power. Hence, in order to display it, he had to spit out a part of his essence blood. His strike shook everyone. Even Tian Yunzi was astonished by the power of this giant gold finger. Despite so, he did not intend to dodge it. Seeing the giant gold finger moving towards him, Tian Yunzi snorted and suddenly threw a punch. Boom! After a loud sound was heard, a space rift appeared at the part of the void where the two collided. It was like a spider web, expanding over a few feet. The spectators were petrified. Space rifts. How is this possible? Gosh! It was common to see space rifts in the ancient world. Any attacks from a brilliant skyscraping realm expert could lead to such a phenomenon. However, this was the eternal world. The space in there was much stabler than that in the ancient world. In a normal situation, even if dozens of or 100 eternal realm experts fought with their full strength, they would be unable to bring about space rifts. But now, the head-on confrontation between Jian Wushuang's finger and Tian Yunzi's punch actually caused space rifts to spread over a radius of dozens of feet. How powerful their attacks were! Whoosh! Jian Wushuang, who had transformed into a golden shadow, was thrown backward like a shooting star. He retreated 1,000 feet and smashed numerous hills before he regained his stance. On the other hand, Tian Yunzi was still composed. The mighty force of the impact only made him stagger a step back. Although it was only a step, the spectators still gasped in shock. Retreat. He actually forced Tian Yunzi to retreat. It was just 1 step, but it did happen. This. Incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Numerous experts marveled at it. Tian Yunzi's expression darkened. This 1 step was a big humiliation to him. Boy, I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to possess a more powerful finger technique secret skill other than your amazing sword principle secret skill. Not only was it powerful, it even contains a part of the bloodline power. If I'm right, you obtained it from the Demon God clan, right? The Demon God clan is really a big treasure vault. They actually have powerful secret skills like this. Tian Yunzi spoke with a hint of fever in his eyes. This was also normal. There were numerous secret skills in the Cloud Seer's Guard, but none of them was comparable to the move Jian Wushuang had unleashed. Therefore, Tian Yunzi obviously coveted this powerful secret skill. Jian Wushuang was in a terrible condition. His face was pale, and blood covered the corners of his mouth. His aura was also severely weakened. The first finger consumed all his spiritual power, so he had no strength to fight. He's worthy of being a Dao master. A mere doppelganger possesses such a terrifying battle strength. I've used my full strength to display the first finger of the ancient god, but I only made him take a step back. Instead, I'm the one that's seriously injured. Jian Wushuang sighed inwardly and gained a new understanding of Dao master's strength. A Dao master was terrifying indeed. If a doppelganger was this scary, Who knew what Tian Yunzi's original body would be like? Tian Yunzi spoke in an icy voice. Jian Wushuang, it seems that your strength has run out. Do you still want to continue and not surrender? Do you really want me to break your limbs and then take you back to Cloud Sea Asgard? Surrender. Jian Wushuang smiled. Although he had no more strength to fight, his battle intent had not weakened. This doesn't deserve my surrender. Jian Wushuang took out an item as he spoke. It was a wilted yellow leaf. This wilted leaf looked ordinary, but the other experts all sensed that it was something extraordinary. What's that? A wilted leaf? No, it looks unusual. The situation has already become like this. Does Jian Wushuang still have a trump card? The spectators widened their eyes and stared at the scene. Jian Wushuang held this wilted leaf as he glanced at Tian Yunzi with a grim smile. Tian Yunzi, the doppelganger is far inferior to the original body, but putting it together definitely cost you a lot, right? So what? Tian Yunzi was still calm. Hihi, since that's the case, I'll kill the doppelganger today. Jian Wushuang laughed coldly. Then, he crushed the wilted leaf. Chapter 780, The Wilted Leaf. Chapter 780, The Wilted Leaf. The wilted, yellowed leaf looked ordinary, but it was actually Jian Wushuang's strongest trump cards. He received it from Elder Yi. Jian Wushuang possessed the imperial bloodline, which meant a lot to the ancient god clan. Before Jian Wushuang left the ancient god palace, Elder Yi was worried that he would face a deadly crisis when fighting with the outsiders, so he gave the life-saving item to the boy. This wilted leaf contained the power of Elder Yi's one finger. Don't underestimate the power of one finger. Elder Yi was a true 3-star ancient god, which was equivalent to a Tao master for the human warriors. Aided by his ancient god body, he was more powerful than a Tao master, so the latter had to use his full strength to deal with the elder's one-finger power. Now, Jian Wushuang's opponent was only a doppelganger of a Tao master. Crack. He squeezed the wilted leaf and it cracked into pieces. The mighty power hidden in the leaf was finally activated. Growl. The terrifying power quickly gathered in the void, forming a 1,000 feet tall gold-armored ancient god in the blink of an eye. Although the gold-armored ancient god was a spectral image, his mighty aura struck terror into everyone's heart. Tian Yunzi was also surprised at the appearance of the giant ancient god phantom. The gold-armored ancient god phantom raised his right arm, which was as muscular as a mountain, before endless power converged into one of his fingers. The finger radiated gold light suddenly and the gold-armored ancient god phantom pointed at the sky. The void began rupturing, creating a black hole with a radius of hundreds of feet. The spatial turbulence, which was terrifying enough to shatter everything, was tumbling violently inside the black hole. This scene sent a chill down the spectators' spines. This is Tao Master's power. A black hole so big. Gosh. Everyone was stunned. Even Jian Wushuang was shocked. He had sensed how powerful Tao Master was when fighting with Tian Yunzi, but now that he used Elder Yi's offensive power, he finally realized that Tao Master's strength was beyond his imagination. This simple finger had not used any secret skills, but its terrifying power still rocked everyone. This giant finger was several times stronger than the first finger of the ancient god that Jian Wushuang had displayed before. It suddenly appeared in front of Tian Yunzi without giving him any chance to dodge it. Shit. Tian Yunzi's face darkened. He realized that it was impossible for him to resist the terrifying power of this finger. Looks like I have no other choice. Tian Yunzi's expression darkened. Just when the giant finger was about to touch his body, a figure suddenly appeared in front of the doppelganger, clenched his fists, and threw a violent punch. Pang! An earth-shaking loud boom was heard before the whole void collapsed. Huge space rifts extended for 1,000 feet. The void looked as if it was completely torn apart. The giant ancient god phantom disappeared after releasing the full power of one finger. The wilted, yellowed leaf which had run out of its power fell from the boy's hand. The broken space finally regained peace. At this point, the spectators all fixed their eyes onto the two figures who shared the same figures, appearance, and temperament. The only difference was that the one who stood in front of the other had a natural mighty aura which was superior to anyone present. 2. Tian Yunzi. This is. Upon seeing this, all the experts were greatly taken aback. There would not be 2 Tian Yunzis for no reason. The one who dealt with Jian Wushuang was his doppelganger, which was the one standing behind. Hence, the Tian Yunzi who had just withstood the attack from the terrifying finger should be original body. It's his original body. The original body came. All the spectators widened their eyes. Faced with Tian Yunzi's doppelganger, Jian Wushuang still had an opportunity to fight against him and nearly killed him by employing one of his trump cards. But now, Tian Yunzi's original body showed up. Original body? Jian Wushuang looked at Tian Yunzi's original body with a wry smile. He had used up all his skills and brought out all his trump cards, but he could only kill Tian Yunzi's doppelganger. But now, he was faced with Tian Yunzi's original body, a true Dao master. Even if Jian Wushuang was at his peak, he would not dare to challenge this Dao master. Tian Yunzi's original body was dressed in a holy white robe, but he looked somewhat pale. Apparently, it was not easy for him to deflect the attack from the giant finger. What a powerful strike, it even caused me to suffer a bit. Tian Yunzi was deep in thought. It only used physical strength and hasn't displayed any skills. It looks like the finger's owner is much stronger than me. Jian Wushuang spoke. Tian Yunzi, I didn't expect that your original body was hiding nearby. Since Tian Yunzi's original body was able to appear quickly after his doppelganger was dying, he definitely had been somewhere nearby. Tian Yunzi had been unwilling to personally deal with Jian Wushuang due to his status, so he had dispatched his doppelganger here. But he had never expected that Jian Wushuang had a trump card that could kill his doppelganger, so he had to show up. Humph. Tian Yunzi snorted and looked at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. My doppelganger may not be good, but it cost me a lot to put it together. I can't let you destroy it just like this. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded and said with a snicker, you came here personally, looks like Cloud Sea Asgard really thinks highly of me. Chapter 781, The Arrival of Teacher. Chapter 781, The Arrival of Teacher. You even sent your original body here. Well, seems that the Cloud Sea Asgard really thinks highly of me. Jian Wushuang blurted out these words with a note of distinct taunt. Hearing this, the experts from the various sects all turned sullen, murmuring under their breath. And as for the members of the Cloud Sea Asgard, including Tian Yunzi, they all looked rather glum. The Cloud Sea Asgard was one of the 3 magnates in the firmament territory and had claimed to be the top sect. But today, in order to deal with just one divine realm expert, they sent out almost all their experts and resorted to all their means and skills. From the moment Yun Fan stepped forward to fight against Jian Wushuang, they were already bullying the outnumbered. However, they failed. Then, in desperation, Yun Fan joined hands with Saber Master of the Immortal Dynasty and Old Weirdo Dream of the Boundless Demon Sect. The 3 guys, each of whom had lived for numerous years in this world, cooperated to take down Jian Wushuang. Nevertheless, they were still crushed by Jian Wushuang's frontal attack. Furthermore, the 3 even asked all the experts of the 3 magnates on the scene to attack Jian Wushuang at the same time. This was already too outrageous. But even when all the experts united together and launched strikes against Jian Wushuang, they were still completely routed. Furthermore, Yun Fan was almost killed by Jian Wushuang. At this point, Tian Yunzi, the palace master of the Cloud Sea Asgard, appeared again. In the beginning, Tian Yunzi only dispatched his doppelganger to fight, but it was nearly killed when Jian Wushuang employed one of his trump cards. Seeing how critical the situation was, Tian Yunzi's original body came on stage. And all this actually happened in the presence of all those experts from assorted sects of the firmament territory. To defeat Jian Wushuang, a mere divine realm expert, the Cloud Sea Asgard had depleted all its means. Yet, they still could not vanquish him. Eventually, they had to invite the original body of their palace master, the strongest Tian Yunzi, to fight him. If this incident got about, the Cloud Sea Asgard would certainly become a standing joke in the firmament territory. Yes, a hilarious joke. The experts of the Cloud Seer's Guard were all aware of this, and this was why their looks turned so nasty. Jian Wushuang, Tian Yunzi bellowed coldly, his face glum. I don't have time to bicker with you. Just be a lamb and follow me to my Cloud Seer's Guard. If so, I can guarantee your safety. If not. Before Tian Yunzi finished this sentence, a dreamy voice suddenly sounded. If not. If not, so what? These words fluttered in from the void, mingled with a sneer. All the experts on the scene instantly turned to look at the source of the voice. They saw that a straight and tall, purple-haired man with a friendly face was strolling towards them. He was walking very slowly. Each of the steps he made caused a ripple in the void, which gradually spread to the surroundings. When he walked onto the battlefield, the whole place was wrapped in vast ripples, and he was standing in the center of all these ripples. Once this man arrived, the focal point of the whole scene immediately shifted from Tian Yunzi to him. Xian Yi. Seeing the newcomer, Tian Yunzi's pupils bulged. Teacher. Flames of joy danced in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Palace Master Xian Yi. The 9 palace masters of the ancient sect were all heartened. As for the rest of the experts on the scene, they were thrilled, too. It's Xian Yi. Xian Yi's here. He should be here much earlier than this. I wonder what took him so long this time. Now, this is interesting. Palace Master Xian Yi was always eager to defend for his disciples. 100 years ago, when he learned that Jian Wushuang failed to get out of the Eternal Zone, with a rush of wrath, he killed 7 top Eternal Realm experts of the Cloud Seer's Guard at one go. The Cloud Seer's Guard even did not have the guts to complain. Now, since the Cloud Seer's Guard has turned into a bully and attacked Jian Wushuang several times with despicable means, Palace Master Xian Yi must be raging. We have a show now. But the opponent that Xian Yi is facing today is Tian Yunzi, the Palace Master of the Cloud Seer's Guard, who is at the level of Dao Master. I'm afraid Xian Yi can't be as domineering as he used to be. Everyone was waiting with bated breath. Xian Yi was said to be the most mysterious man in the firmament territory, and also the one that could not be messed around with the most. As for Tian Yunzi, he was a supreme expert at the level of Dao Master, who also had the whole Cloud Seer's Guard backing him up. The interaction between these two would be quite interesting. Xian Yi, you're finally willing to appear in public, aren't you? Tian Yunzi stared at Xian Yi. His expression did not change much. He said, apparently, you have been here for a while, but you hid in the dark until now. Aren't you worried that your sweet disciple might die in the hands of our Cloud Seer's Guard? Aho, if my disciple dies, I will send all the Eternal Realm experts of your Cloud Seer's Guard down to hell to accompany him, Xian Yi said composedly. There was a murmur of terror around the crowd. In the entire firmament territory, Palace Master Xian Yi was probably the only one who dared to proclaim sending the Eternal Realm disciples of the Cloud Seer's Guard to accompany his disciple in the netherworld. Xian Yi, aren't you looking down on us too much? Tian Yunzi asked in a deep voice. Indeed I am. But what can you do about that? Xian Yi laughed. You. Tian Yunzi yelled and a flow of rage stole over him. He used to have some dealings with Xian Yi, and he knew basically what kind of person Xian Yi was. Xian Yi was truly qualified to be on an equal footing with him. But to his surprise, Xian Yi had behaved so arrogantly in front of him. Teacher. At this point in time, Jian Wushuang already came to stand by Xian Yi. Xian Yi nodded slightly at Jian Wushuang. Don't speak now. Relax, just stand behind me, and I'll handle the rest. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He never doubted his master. Tian Yunzi, you owe me an explanation for today's matter. Xian Yi opened his mouth, his nonchalant reverberated in the area. Explanation? Tian Yunzi glanced at Xian Yi and snorted. 100 years ago, when you killed 7 of our Eternal Realm experts because your disciple did not walk out of the Eternal Zone, I didn't come to you for an explanation. 100 years ago? Well, at that time, men from your Cloud Seer's Guard did attack my disciple. And I only killed 7 of your Eternal Realm experts. Wasn't that what you deserved? Xian Yi said. 100 years ago, you already knew that your disciple didn't die. Tian Yunzi said, staring at Xian Yi. Yes. Xian Yi replied honestly and did not try to deny this fact at all. If my disciple really died, do you think your Cloud Seer's guard would merely suffer such a small loss? Could the Immortal Dynasty and the Boundless Demon sect possibly stifle my anger with a compensation of a few divine gems? You jerk. Flames of anger were raging in Tianyunzi's eyes. The real jerk is your Cloud Seer's guard. My disciple is merely a divine realm expert, but to deal with him, your Cloud Seer's guard sent out loads of experts. And in the end, even you, the palace master of the Cloud Seer's guard, came to the battlefield in person. You, Tianyunzi, a Dao master, is about to have a go at a divine realm expert. And you're still standing here shamelessly saying those far-fetched things. If this ever leaks into the public, aren't you afraid of being scoffed at? Xian Yi said, his eyes becoming icy cold. Chapter 782, A Gathering. Chapter 782, A Gathering. Xian Yi's words embarrassed Tianyunzi. Despite his indignation, he forced himself to calm down and not lose his temper. Good, very good. Tianyunzi stared at Xian Yi and said, Xian Yi, I know what you're capable of. With your protection, I surely cannot do anything to your precious disciple. Since that's the case, I'll bring the other two. I'll see how you can still protect your disciple under your wing. The other two? Xian Yi's expression changed. Those experts of all the sects burst into an uproar. It was because they knew exactly who the other two were. Then, Tianyunzi took out a messaging slip and sent a message. Soon, he received a response. Xian Yi, let me see who else can protect your disciple today. Tianyunzi said with a chilling voice. Oh! Xian Yi raised his eyebrow but did not reply. Shortly after Tianyunzi sent the message, two figures landed in this place one after another. One of them was a sturdy middle-aged man, who was wearing battling armor and boots. His eyes were shooting bolts of black lightning. Pay my tribute to Divine Emperor. Seeing the man, the remaining experts of the Immortal Dynasty who were not killed by Jian Wushuang all straightened up and gave a salute, their eyes revealing a fever of enthusiasm. This middle-aged man was the Supreme Divine Emperor of the Immortal Dynasty. No one knew what his real name was. They only knew he was surnamed Tu. Thus, all the experts in the Firmament territory always addressed him as Emperor Tu. Soon after Emperor Tu's arrival, a beautiful and slender girl entered the area. This girl seemed to be only 15 or 16 years old and she looked very delicate. When she appeared in this area, everything in her vicinity was outshined by her. When those experts first saw this gorgeous girl, they were intoxicated with her beauty. At this point, even if the girl ordered them to die, some of them would certainly follow her order without hesitation. Pay my tribute to Demon Master. Experts of the Boundless Demon sect all saluted this pretty girl. This pretty girl was the sect master of the Boundless Demon sect, who was also called Demon Master. Her name was Su Bin, so people usually called her Demon Master Su. Emperor Tu, Demon Master Su, and the Cloud Seer's guards Tianyunzi were all sect masters of the three most powerful magnates in the Firmament territory. The three had reached the level of Dao Master a long time ago and became supreme experts. Today, the three Dao Masters had gathered. As Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su landed in the void, the whole area fell silent. Before they arrived, some experts from top sects were still chatting from time to time. But now, they had all shut up and did not dare to say anything more in case they accidentally upset one of the three big shots. Each of these three was quite legendary in the Firmament territory. Well, this is a scene of bustle, isn't it? When Emperor Tu arrived, his eyes swept across the scene. The ordinary experts never caught his eyes. Only when he looked at Xian Yi did his eyes freeze for a moment. Tianyunzi, I'm just in the middle of a closed-door training. I got here the moment I received your message. Tell me, what's going on? Demon Master Su asked. As for the whole thing, you can ask your subordinates. They will tell you why I invited you here, Tianyunzi said. Facing Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su who were level with himself, Tianyunzi did not dare to put himself so highly. Bewildered, Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su immediately consulted their own experts. Saber Master of the Immortal Dynasty and old weirdo Dream of the Boundless Demon sect hurried forward to recount what had happened. After learning the development of the recent events, Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su both looked fascinated. They also fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang. Bravo! This guy managed to spend 100 years in the Eternal Zone without being killed. And he even boosted his strength considerably. Emperor Tu looked zealous. A divine realm expert can turn into a gold-armored demon god. And his battle strength is stronger than Yun Fan and the other two experts at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm. Even Tian Yunzi's doppelganger was nearly killed by him. This is unbelievable. We've never had such a divine realm expert whose powerful is in defiance of the natural order in the firmament territory, have we? Demon Master Su was also amazed. After the initial shock, they both arrived at a conclusion. Jian Wushuang must have carried a huge secret, a secret that involves the most important demon god clan of the Eternal Zone. It was exactly this secret that endowed Jian Wushuang with a kind of power in defiance of the natural order. This secret was something that intrigued the two and even made them crave for it. Xian Yi, this Jian Wushuang is a disciple of yours. Emperor Tu looked at Xian Yi and asked. Yes. Xian Yi nodded slightly. Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su stared at each other, both of their faces darkened. They knew very well that Xian Yi was not someone they could provoke. But the secret that Jian Wushuang was hiding was not a trivial matter at all. If the two were tied together, almost at the same time, a trace of decisiveness flitted across their eyes. Xian Yi, your disciple is carrying a big secret about the whole Eternal Zone. How can you allow him to keep such a secret to himself? You might as well just let him tell us the secret. Emperor Tu said. Yes, as long as he honestly tells us the whole story about what he had been through in the Eternal Zone over the past 100 years, we will not give him a hard time anymore. Demon Master Su added. Haha, Xian Yi, you heard that. A moment ago, when I was all by myself, I truly could not force you into anything. But now, with the presence of Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su, if you still refuse to hand your disciple over, are you really going to make a hopeless attempt to take on the three of us? Teacher. Jian Wushuang could not help but cast a tense look at Xian Yi. But deep down, Jian Wushuang felt like giving a wry smile. Now, everyone on the scene, including Tian Yunzi, Emperor Tu, and Demon Master Su, all thought he had obtained some precious opportunity in the Eternal Zone that helped him to gain such an amazing battle strength. They also believed that Jian Wushuang knew many secrets about the Demon God clan. But in reality, it was true that Jian Wushuang met a lot of opportunities in the Eternal Zone. He learned how to transform into an ancient god, mastered myriads of secret skills, brought his strength to a higher level, but the true reason for his incredulous strength as a divine realm expert was still the heavenly creation skill that he had been practicing. Those opportunities were just something extra. Although he did know some secrets of the ancient god, they were not a lot. Just when everyone was gazing at Xian Yi's eyes shifted. Then, he gave a smile and said, I am actually not very sure of what this guy came across in the Eternal Zone. Please let me question him first, and I'll address you all later. What do you think? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,